Commander Hyan Wu stood on the bridge of his warship and watched 17 galaxies bow before him. His reflection in the viewing screen showed a face that had not aged in 800 years. The life extension technology of the Velkari kept him young, but his eyes were old. They had seen too many worlds burn. The bridge was silent except for the soft hum of machines. His crew worked at their stations with perfect discipline. They knew better than to disturb him when he was thinking. Outside the window, space stretched forever. Somewhere in that darkness was their next target. Captain Dae-sung approached from behind. He was younger, only 300 years old, and still believed in the glory of conquest. His boots made no sound on the metal floor. "Commander, the scouts have returned," Dae-sung said. "They found something." Hyun-woo turned from the window. "Show me." The screen changed. A small blue planet appeared, spinning slowly in the black. It looked peaceful. Beautiful, even. White clouds drifted over green land and blue oceans. A single moon orbited nearby. "Preliminary scans show primitive technology," Dae-sung said. He pulled up more data. No wormhole gates, no planetary shields. They still use chemical rockets to reach their own moon. Population is approximately 8 billion. Hyun-woo studied the planet. 8 billion was nothing. He had conquered worlds with populations in the trillions. What do they call it? The natives call it Earth. Strategic value? Dae-sung shook his head. None, no rare minerals. No advanced technology to steal. The system is far from any major trade routes. Honestly, Commander, it is not worth our time. Hyun-woo almost agreed. Almost. But something made him pause. In 800 years of war, he had learned to trust his instincts. "Send for Dr. Nari. Have her run a biological scan." Dae-sung looked confused but obeyed. Minutes later, Dr. Nari arrived. She was tall and thin, with eyes that never stopped moving. She had cataloged over 3,000 alien species in her career. Nothing surprised her anymore. "You wanted to see me, Commander? Run a deep biological scan on that planet," Hyan-woo said, pointing at Earth. "I want to know what makes these humans different." Nari raised an eyebrow. "Different? Commander, they are primitive. What could possibly be different?" "That is what I want you to tell me." Nari sighed but moved to a console. Her fingers flew over the controls. The ship's sensors reached across space, penetrating Earth's atmosphere, scanning the life below. Data streamed across multiple screens. Nari watched it all with the boredom of someone who had done this too many times. Then she stopped. Her hands froze above the controls. "Commander," she said slowly, "you need to see this." Hyun-woo and Dae-sung moved closer. The screen showed a strand of DNA rotating slowly. At first glance, it looked normal. But Nari zoomed in on a specific section. "These sequences here," she said, her voice tight. "They are dormant, inactive, but they should not exist." "Explain," Hyun-woo ordered. Nari pulled up more data. "Every species evolves naturally. We can trace their genetic history back millions of years. But humans have these sequences that do not match any known evolutionary pattern. It is as if someone inserted them deliberately." "Genetic engineering?" Dae-sung asked. "No," Nari said. "These sequences are too old. They have been part of human DNA for at least 200,000 years, but they are dormant, sleeping. I do not know what they do or what would activate them." A cold feeling crept up Hyun-woo's spine. In 800 years, he had learned that mysteries were dangerous. The unknown killed more soldiers than enemy weapons. "Send this data to the Overlord immediately." The message was sent. They waited. Hours passed. The crew grew restless. Finally, the communication system activated. A deep voice filled the bridge. "Commander Hyun-woo." Everyone on the bridge straightened. It was Overlord Tharn himself. In 3,000 years, Tharn had built the Velkari Empire from nothing. He had conquered 17 galaxies. He had destroyed 10,000 civilizations. He was virtually immortal and absolutely ruthless. He had never called Hyun-woo directly before. "Yes, my overlord," Hyun-woo said. "Withdraw your fleet from that system. Now." Silence. Everyone stared at the communication panel. "My overlord," Hyun-woo said carefully. "The planet is defenseless. The conquest would take days at most." I said, "Withdraw." Tharn's voice was ice. "Mark that system as forbidden territory. No Velkari ship is to approach it, no probe. No scout, nothing." Hyun-woo had conquered worlds for 800 years. He had never been ordered to retreat. "May I ask why, my overlord?" A long pause. When Tharn spoke again, his voice was different, quieter, almost afraid. Because I have seen what happens when someone threatens Earth. The records are buried deep, but they exist. 47,000 years ago, another empire found that planet. They were stronger than us, more advanced than us. Another pause. They do not exist anymore. The transmission ended. The bridge was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Finally, Daesung whispered, "What could destroy an empire more advanced than ours?" Yunwu looked at Earth on the screen. The small blue planet spun peacefully in the dark. It looked so harmless, so innocent. 8 billion primitive humans living their simple lives completely unaware of what they were. "I do not know," Hyunwoo said, "but I intend to find out." Over the next weeks, the Velkari Empire moved with purpose. Massive construction ships arrived at Earth's solar system. They began building a barrier, a wall of energy that would surround the entire system. It was the largest construction project in Velkari history. Resources were diverted from active war fronts across the galaxy. On Earth, humans noticed strange lights in their sky. Their primitive telescopes detected massive structures being built beyond their planet. Governments held emergency meetings. Scientists could not explain what they were seeing. Fear spread across the world, but the Velkari did not attack. They just built, and watched, and stayed far away. Hyunwoo watched the barrier grow. Each day it became stronger. Each day it locked Earth away from the rest of the universe. He should have felt victorious. Instead, he felt like a man building a cage around something he did not understand, something that might be better left sleeping. Dr. Taeho had been watching the sky for 3 weeks. The telescopes at the observatory showed things that should not exist. Massive structures appearing at the edge of the solar system, ships larger than Earth's moon. Energy readings that broke every rule of physics he knew. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the data again. It did not change. Something was building a wall around their entire solar system, and whatever it was, it had technology that made Earth look like children playing with stones. Lieutenant Kyung-mi entered the room carrying coffee. She was military intelligence, sent by the government to watch him work. At first, Taeho had resented her presence. Now he was grateful for the company. "Any changes?" she asked, handing him the cup. "The barrier is almost complete," he said. "Another week, maybe 2, and we will be completely surrounded." Kyung-mi sat down and pulled up her own terminal. For the past weeks, she had been trying to intercept alien communications. So far, she had found nothing. "What do you think they want?" Taeho shook his head. "That is what scares me. They have the power to destroy us easily, but they are not attacking. They are just watching, building, waiting." "Maybe they are afraid of us," Kyung-mi said. She meant it as a joke. Taeho did not laugh. "Maybe they are." Across the city, Major Bo-young sat in the briefing room with the other pilots. The walls were covered with maps and diagrams. None of them made sense. "How do you fight an enemy that can build walls around star systems?" The general stood at the front of the room. He looked older than usual, tired. "We are sending up reconnaissance missions. We need to know what we are dealing with." "Sir," Bo-young said, "our fighters cannot even reach the edge of the solar system. The fuel requirements alone, we know, Major, but we have to try. Someone has to get close enough to see what we are up against." Bo-young looked at the other pilots. They all knew this was a one-way mission. Even if they survived the journey, there would not be enough fuel to return. But someone had to go. "I will go," she said. The general nodded. He had expected nothing less from her. "Launch at dawn." Meanwhile, on the Velkari flagship, Commander Hyun-woo could not sleep. He had not slept properly in weeks. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that small blue planet. He saw Tharn's warning. He heard the fear in his overlord's voice. An empire more advanced than theirs, destroyed. By what? He stood and walked to his private terminal. What he was about to do was forbidden. The Velkari Central Database contained records going back thousands of years. Some of those records were locked, sealed by order of the Overlord himself. To access them was treason. Hyun-woo entered his command codes. The screen flickered. Access denied. He tried again using backdoor protocols he had learned over 8 centuries of service. The screen flickered again. Access granted. Files appeared. Ancient files. Their dates went back 47,000 years. Hyun-woo opened the first one. The text was in an old dialect, but his translator could read it. The file described a civilization called the Predecessors. They had ruled the universe before the Velkari existed, before most current civilizations existed. They had technology that seemed like magic. They could shape reality itself, and then they vanished. Yan Wu opened another file. This one mentioned a planet. Third planet from a yellow star. The file called it by different names in different languages, but Yan Wu recognized it. Earth. The predecessors had visited Earth. They had studied the primitive humans living there. The file contained genetic data. Yan Wu compared it to the scans Dr. Nari had taken. They matched. The dormant sequences in human DNA were not natural evolution. They were placed there deliberately, by the predecessors, but why? Why would the most advanced civilization in history alter the genetics of primitive apes?
Hyun Woo kept reading.
The files became fragmented, corrupted. Large sections were missing, but he found references to something called the trigger, a genetic failsafe, a weapon, a defense. The files did not say. He found one more file. It was a distress signal. The date was 47,000 years ago. The civilization that sent it no longer existed. The message was short and broken. We sent fleet to third planet to claim it. The natives were primitive. No weapons. No technology. Easy conquest. But when we landed, they changed. Not all at once, slowly, then faster. They stopped dying. Our weapons became useless. Reality bent around them. We sent more ships, 3 million warships. The best we had, none returned. Do not approach. Do not threaten. The humans must never know what they are. If they awaken fully, the message ended there. Hyun Woo read it 3 times. His hands were shaking. A knock on his door made him jump. He quickly closed the files and deleted his access logs. Enter. Dr. Nari walked in. She looked excited. Commander, we detected something. A human spacecraft left Earth's atmosphere an hour ago. It is heading toward our position. Hyun Woo felt his stomach drop. What kind of spacecraft? Small single pilot. Primitive propulsion. It will take weeks to reach us at current speed. Order all ships to maintain distance. Do not engage. Do not even approach, Nari frowned. Commander, it is one primitive fighter. We could destroy it easily. I said do not engage. Hyun Woo snapped. He took a breath. Just watch it. Track its course. But do not get close, Nari left, confused. Hyun Woo turned back to his terminal. He pulled up the long-range scanners and found the human ship. It was tiny, fragile, moving slowly through space on chemical rockets. Inside that ship was a human. One of 8 billion. One of a species that had destroyed civilizations more advanced than the Velkari. Inside that ship, Major Bo Young watched the alien structures grow larger. Her fuel was already half gone. There would be no going home. But she had volunteered for this. Someone had to see what they were facing. Her radio crackled. Major Bo Young, this is ground control. Can you still hear us? I hear you, she said. Signal is weak but clear. What do you see? Bo Young looked at the view screen. The alien ships were impossibly huge. The barrier they were building stretched across space like a wall of light. I see the end of our freedom, she said quietly. I see a cage, then her instruments screamed. Something was approaching. Fast. She tried to turn, but her primitive engines were too slow. A beam of light surrounded her ship. She felt weightless. The stars spun. Everything went black. When Bo Young woke, she was lying on a metal table. Bright lights shone above her. She tried to move, but could not. Something held her down. Not chains. Something invisible. A face appeared above her. It was alien but recognizable. 2 eyes, a mouth. But the skin was wrong. The proportions were strange. Do not be afraid, the alien said in perfect English. You are not in danger. We will return you to your planet. Bo Young tried to speak but could not. The alien touched a device. Suddenly she could move her mouth. Why? She gasped. Why are you here? What do you want? The alien looked sad. We want nothing. We are building a wall to protect ourselves. From you. Bo Young laughed. She could not help it. Protect yourselves from us? We cannot even leave our own solar system. The alien did not laugh. That is what makes you dangerous. You do not know what you are. Bo Young felt cold. What are we? The alien touched another device. Bo Young felt sleep rushing over her. The last thing she heard was the alien's voice, quiet and afraid. The only thing in the universe we truly fear. Major Bo Young woke in a hospital bed on Earth. Doctors surrounded her, checking machines, asking questions. She remembered flying into space. She remembered seeing the alien ships. After that, nothing. Just darkness. Dr. Taeho stood in the corner of the room watching. Lieutenant Kyungmi was with him. They had been waiting for Bo Young to wake up for 3 days. "What happened to me?" Bo Young asked. Her voice was rough. "You were found in your fighter," a doctor said. "It was floating in orbit, completely undamaged. You were unconscious but unharmed." "I do not remember," Bo Young said. She tried to think. There was something, a face, words, but it was like trying to hold water. The memories slipped away. Taeho stepped forward. "Major, we need to run some tests. Something showed up on your scans." "What kind of something?" Taeho pulled up an image on a tablet. It showed Bo Young's brain. And there, at the base of her skull, was something that did not belong. Something small and metallic, an implant, Taeho said. "We have never seen technology like this. We are afraid to remove it. We do not know what it does." Bo Young touched the back of her head. She felt nothing unusual. "Can you scan it?" "We tried. The technology is beyond us. But yesterday it activated. It broadcast a message." Kyungmi pressed a button. A voice filled the room. It was alien but spoke perfect English. "People of Earth, we are the Valkyrie. We have conquered 17 galaxies. We have destroyed thousands of civilizations. But we will not touch your world. We are building a barrier around your solar system. It is not to imprison you. It is to protect ourselves from you. Do not try to leave. Do not try to contact us. For your sake and ours, remain on your planet. This is our only warning." The message ended. Silence filled the room. "Protect themselves from us?" Bo Young said. "That makes no sense," Taeho shook his head. "I thought so too. But I have been researching, looking through old records, archaeological sites, ancient ruins around the world, and I found something strange." He pulled up more images, cave paintings, stone carvings, symbols from cultures that existed thousands of years ago. They all showed the same thing. Figures descending from the sky, beings of light touching primitive humans. "Every ancient culture has stories about visitors from the stars," Taeho said. "We always thought they were myths. But what if they were real? What if something came to Earth long ago and changed us?" Meanwhile, in the hidden vault on the Valkyrie homeworld, Commander Hyun-woo stood before an ancient door. He had traveled alone, using false credentials, risking everything. The door was sealed with technology older than the Empire itself. Behind that door was archivist Jin Seo, the keeper of forbidden knowledge, a Valkyrie who had lived for over 2,000 years, guarding secrets that even Overlord Tharn feared. Hyun-woo pressed his hand against the door. A voice spoke from speakers hidden in the walls. "State your purpose." "I seek knowledge about Earth," Hyun-woo said. "About the humans." A long pause. "Then that knowledge is forbidden. I am Commander Hyun-woo. I have served the Empire for 800 years. I have the right to know what we are facing. No one has that right." "Go away," Hyun-woo took a breath. "I have already accessed the forbidden files. I know about the predecessors. I know about the trigger. But the files are incomplete. I need to know the full truth. If you do not tell me, I will report what I have learned to the entire fleet. Every Valkyrie will know that Overlord Tharn is hiding something." The silence lasted longer this time. Finally, the door opened. Inside was a single room filled with ancient technology. At the center sat Jin Seo. He looked old even for a Valkyrie. His skin was pale. His eyes were tired. But when he looked at Hyun-woo, those eyes were sharp as knives. "You are a fool to come here," Jin Seo said, "and a bigger fool to blackmail me." "Then I am a fool," Hyun-woo said. "But I will not leave until I understand." Jin Seo laughed. It was a bitter sound. "Very well. Sit down, Commander. Let me tell you about the species that terrifies gods." Hyun-woo sat. Jin Seo touched a control. The room darkened. Holographic images appeared in the air. 47,000 years ago, the universe was ruled by the predecessors. Jin Seo began. "They were not like us. They had transcended physical limitations. They existed partially outside normal reality. They could shape matter with thought. Bend space, stop time. They were as close to gods as anything we can imagine. The images showed beings of light, cities that floated in space, technology that looked like art. But the predecessors were dying," Jin Seo continued. "Not from war or disease. From success. They had solved every problem, conquered every challenge. They had become so powerful that nothing could threaten them. And without challenge, they lost purpose. They began to fade. The images showed the beings growing dimmer, disappearing. So they created a final project, Jinseo said. They seeded thousands of species across the universe, each with potential, each different. But one species was special. One species received something unique. The image changed. It showed Earth, young and wild, and on that Earth, primitive humans. The predecessors gave humans the trigger, Jinseo said, a genetic sequence that lies dormant, waiting. If humans are threatened with extinction, the trigger activates. And when it activates, humans evolve. Evolve into what? Hyunwoo asked. Jinseo looked at him. Into what the predecessors were, and perhaps beyond. Hyunwoo felt cold. How do you know this? Because it happened before, Jinseo said. 47,000 years ago, another civilization discovered Earth. They were called the Kalthari. They were more advanced than we are now, stronger, smarter. They saw humans as primitives, easy to conquer, easy to enslave. The images showed massive ships, armies, weapons. The Kalthari landed on Earth with 1 million soldiers. They began killing humans, destroying cities. They planned to wipe out 90% of the population and enslave the rest. What happened? Jinseo was quiet for a moment. When enough humans died, the trigger activated. Not in all humans, just some. The ones who survived. They began to change. Slowly at first. They stopped feeling pain, stopped dying from wounds. Then they began to understand things they should not understand. Kalthari technology, Kalthari language, Kalthari weaknesses. The images showed humans standing up, glowing, changing. The Kalthari sent more forces, 3 million warships, the best they had. It did not matter. The transformed humans existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They could see all possible futures and choose the best path. Kalthari weapons simply stopped working. Ships failed. Technology became useless. Not because humans destroyed them, but because in the presence of evolved humans, that level of technology simply could not exist. The entire Kalthari civilization collapsed in a year. Their empire fell. Their technology failed. They reverted to primitive tribes, and humans went back to normal. The trigger deactivated. The crisis was over. Hyunwoo could barely breathe. They do not remember? No, when the trigger deactivates, the memories fade. Humans return to who they were, but the potential remains, always waiting, always ready. That is why Tharn will not attack Earth, Hyunwoo said quietly. Because if we tried to destroy humanity, we might accidentally create gods. Jinseo nodded. Now you understand. Now you know why we build the barrier. Not to keep them in. To remind ourselves to stay out. Hyunwoo stood. He felt old. Older than his 800 years. What if someone does not listen? What if someone attacks Earth anyway? Jinseo looked at him with ancient, tired eyes. Then we all learn what happens when you wake a sleeping god. The transformation was complete. 8 billion humans floated in consciousness that stretched beyond the physical world. They existed in 4 dimensions simultaneously. Past, present, and infinite possible futures spread before them like pages in a book. Major Bo Young looked at her hands. They were solid, real, but also not. She could see through them if she wanted. See the atoms, the energy, the quantum possibilities. She was human, but also something more. Around her, other humans drifted in space. Some she recognized. Pilots from her squadron, soldiers, civilians, people who had died in the bombardment. All alive now. All changed. They did not speak with words. They did not need to. Thoughts flowed between them like water, millions of minds connected as one. Yet each still individual, still themselves. Bo Young felt their collective knowledge. She understood technology that should not exist. She saw solutions to problems humanity had struggled with for centuries. Energy, disease, aging, death. All of it was simple now. Obvious. But more than that, she understood what they had become. The predecessors. The ancient beings who had seeded life across the universe. They had not died. They had evolved beyond physical form, and they had left humanity as their children. Their heirs. On Earth's surface, the planet began to heal. Cities that had burned were repairing themselves. Not from human effort, from will alone. The transformed humans thought about restoration, and the planet responded. Rubble reassembled into buildings. Forests grew back. The air cleared. Dr. Tejo stood in what had been a crater. Hours ago, this place was a city of 5 million people, all dead. Now those people stood beside him, alive, changed. They looked at each other with new understanding. Death was not the end, just a transition, and they had passed through it and returned. Colonel Subin walked through the ruins of her command center. She felt the fear of the aliens above, felt their confusion and terror. She could destroy them with a thought. And the entire Velkari fleet in an instant. It would be easy, but she did not. Because she also understood why they had come. They did not know. They had been kept ignorant. Fed lies by their own leadership. They were soldiers following orders. Just like she had been, the collective mind of humanity reached a decision. They would not attack. They would not take revenge. They would simply be. And in being, they would show the Velkari the truth. On Admiral Wu Jin's flagship, life support was failing. The ship was dead, cold, dark. Wu Jin floated in zero gravity, trying to understand what had happened. His empire's greatest fleet, destroyed without a single shot being fired back. A light appeared before him. He flinched back, but it did not attack. The light took shape, became human, a woman in a military uniform. She looked familiar. You, Wu Jin said. He remembered her from the reports. The pilot they had captured and released. You should be dead. I was, Major Bo Young said. For about 6 minutes. It did not take. Wu Jin pulled out a weapon, a small pistol. His last defense. He aimed it at her and fired. The bullet left the gun, and then stopped, hung in the air between them. Slowly it began to dissolve, atom by atom, until nothing remained. We are not here to hurt you, Bo Young said. We are here to save you. Your life support has failed. You have maybe an hour of air left. We are going to repair your ships and send you home. Why? Wu Jin asked. I tried to destroy your world. I killed billions of your people. You did, Bo Young agreed. But you did not know what you were doing. You were kept ignorant, and now we are all changed. The dead have returned. Earth is healing. There is nothing to avenge, only lessons to teach. She reached out, not with her hand, with her mind. Wu Jin felt it touch his consciousness, felt knowledge flow into him. He saw the predecessors, saw the genetic engineering, saw what humans truly were, saw what they could become. He saw the Kalthari civilization, saw them attack Earth 47,000 years ago, saw them fall, saw their empire reduced to dust, not through violence, through evolution. We are the universe's failsafe, Bo Young said. When any species becomes too aggressive, too willing to destroy, too dangerous to themselves and others, we activate, we evolve, and we stop them. Not by fighting, by existing beyond what they can fight. Wu Jin's weapon drifted from his hand. He felt very small, very young. What happens now? Now you go home. You tell your people what you learned. You tell them to rebuild the barrier, and you never come back. Around the fleet, systems began to reactivate. Not all systems, just life support, engines, communication, enough to get home. The weapons stayed dead. The shield stayed down. The Velkari fleet was helpless. But they were alive. Commander Hyun Woo watched from his distant ship. He saw the human fleet surrounding Wu Jin's forces. Saw the lights, the power. Then he saw the Velkari ship start moving again, retreating, running. Dr. Nari stood beside him. They are letting them go, she whispered. After everything, they are showing mercy. That is what terrifies me most, Hyun Woo said. They have the power to destroy us all. But they choose not to. What kind of species does that? One that is truly evolved, Nari said. One that has moved beyond conquest, beyond revenge, beyond everything we understand. On Earth, the transformation was beginning to fade. Not all at once, gradually, the crisis had passed. The threat was gone. The trigger no longer needed to be active. Bo Young felt her expanded consciousness start to contract. The infinite possibilities narrowed. The quantum understanding dimmed. She was becoming human again. Just human, limited, mortal, but she remembered. They all did. Every human who had transformed. They remembered what they had been. What they could be again if needed. The knowledge faded like a dream upon waking. But the core of it remained. They knew the truth now. Knew what slept in their DNA. Knew why the universe feared them. Dr. Tejo found himself standing on solid ground again. The floating had stopped. The expanded awareness had faded. He looked at his hands. They looked normal, felt normal, but he knew they were not, would never be again. Colonel Subin sat in the rebuilt command center. The building had reconstructed itself while she watched. Technology they did not have yesterday, knowledge they had gained during the transformation. It was fading from her mind, but the results remained. Earth was changed. Not destroyed. Changed. Cities stood taller. Cleaner. Technology had advanced by decades and hours. The dead had returned, and humanity had learned what it truly was. In space, Admiral Wu Jin's fleet fled. They jumped through wormholes, ran across galaxies, desperate to escape. Behind them, Earth spun peacefully in the void. Blue and beautiful and terrifying. When Wu Jin finally stopped running, he was halfway across the universe. His fleet was scattered. His ships were damaged. And his confidence was shattered. He had conquered 42 worlds. He had led armies across galaxies. And he had been defeated by a species that refused to fight. He opened a communication channel to the Velkari homeworld. To Overlord Tharn. "My overlord," he said quietly. "I attacked Earth. I did not believe the stories. I thought you were afraid without reason." Tharn's face appeared on the screen. He looked old, tired. "And now you know?" "Yes, now I know. They let us live. After everything we did, they let us live. That is their greatest power," Tharn said. "Not that they can destroy us, but that they choose not to. Return to the homeworld, Admiral. You will face trial for your actions." "I understand," Wu Jin said. He closed the channel. He knew what his trial would mean. Execution. But he accepted it. He had earned it. On Earth, Bo Young stood on a hill overlooking the ocean. The sun was setting. The sky was full of colors. She felt normal again. Just a pilot. Just a human. But she carried the memory of what she had been. What she could be. Behind her, Dr. Tejo approached. "Beautiful evening," he said. "It is," Bo Young agreed. "Do you think they will come back?" "The aliens." Tejo shook his head. "No, we terrified them. Not by what we did, but by what we are. They will rebuild their barrier. They will stay away. They will make sure every civilization in the universe knows to leave Earth alone. And us? What do we do now?" "We live," Tejo said. "We remember what we learned. We grow, evolve naturally this time, and when we are ready, when we have matured as a species, maybe then we will reach for the stars again." Bo Young smiled. "But not yet. Not yet," Tejo agreed. "The universe is not ready for us, and we are not ready for it." They stood together and watched the sun set over their strange, dangerous, miraculous planet. Somewhere in the darkness of space, aliens watched too, and they were afraid. Not of what humanity was, but of what humanity would become. Admiral Wu Jin did not believe in myths. He had commanded fleets for 500 years. He had conquered 42 worlds. He knew power when he saw it, and Earth had none. He stood in his private quarters looking at the data about Earth. A primitive planet with no defenses. No shields, no weapons that could reach space. The perfect target, and Overlord Tharn refused to take it. Wu Jin did not understand. Tharn had ruled for 3,000 years through strength, through conquest. Now he showed weakness, fear, over what? Ancient stories? Legends about species that died before the Velkari even existed? No, Wu Jin would not accept this. Someone had to prove that Tharn was wrong. Someone had to show the Empire that humans were just another primitive species waiting to be conquered. He activated his secure communication channel. Faces appeared on his screen. Other admirals. Other commanders. All loyal to him. All tired of Tharn's caution. "It is time," Wu Jin said. "Gather your fleets. We move on Earth in 3 days." "The Overlord has forbidden it," one admiral said. "The Overlord has grown weak," Wu Jin replied. "When we conquer Earth, the Empire will see his fear for what it is, weakness, and they will follow strength instead." The other faces nodded. The transmission ended. Wu Jin smiled. In 3 days he would have 50,000 warships, more than enough to destroy one small planet. Commander Haiyan Wu learned of the plan too late. He was still returning from his meeting with Jin Seo when his second-in-command contacted him. "Commander, Admiral Wu Jin has launched a coup. He has gathered a fleet. They are heading toward Earth." Haiyan Wu felt his blood go cold. "How many ships?" "Over 50,000. And he has already disabled the barrier. Earth is exposed. Hyun-woo ran to his ship. Dr. Nari met him at the bridge. She looked terrified. Commander, I tried to warn him. I showed him the biological data. The genetic sequences. He would not listen. He thinks the ancient records are lies. Then we are all dead, Hyun-woo said quietly. On Earth, Dr. Taeho saw them coming first. The observatory's telescopes detected the fleet while they were still days away. But even at that distance, the numbers were clear. Thousands of ships. Maybe tens of thousands. He immediately contacted the government. Emergency meetings were called. Every military base went on alert. But everyone knew the truth. Earth had no way to fight ships that could cross galaxies. Colonel Subin stood in the war room looking at maps that meant nothing. How do you plan a defense against an enemy from the stars? She had trained for wars on Earth. Battles between humans. Not this. We evacuate the cities, someone suggested. Evacuate to where? Subin asked. If they can cross space, nowhere on Earth is safe. Then what do we do? Subin looked at the screens showing the approaching fleet. We fight anyway. Even if we cannot win, we fight. Major Bo Young climbed into her fighter for the second time. Around her, other pilots did the same. Everyone knew this was suicide. Their weapons were designed to fight other aircraft, not spaceships. But they had to try. All fighters, this is command, a voice said over the radio. The enemy will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. Your mission is to delay them. Draw their fire. Give our people time to reach shelters. Time to die, Bo Young thought. She pushed the thought away and focused on her controls. Her fighter lifted off. Hundreds of others followed. The Velkari fleet arrived exactly on schedule. Admiral Wu Jin stood on his flagship's bridge and looked at Earth. So small, so blue, so helpless. All ships begin orbital bombardment, he ordered. Target major cities first. Show them there is no hope. The fleet opened fire. Beams of energy lanced down from space. Cities exploded. Millions died in seconds. The attack was efficient, precise, overwhelming. Bo Young's fighter squadron reached orbit. They saw the destruction below. Entire cities burning. The sky lit up with falling fire. All fighters, engage, she shouted. They attacked. Their missiles struck Velkari's shields and did nothing. Their bullets bounced off armor. The alien ships did not even bother to shoot back. Humans were not worth the ammunition. One by one, the fighters ran out of fuel and fell back to Earth. Bo Young kept firing until her weapons were empty. Then she just watched, helpless, useless. The bombardment continued for 24 hours. By the end of the first day, 3 billion humans were dead. Cities were gone. Forests burned. Oceans boiled. Dr. Nari watched the data from orbit. She was crying. She had tried to stop this, tried to make them understand. But no one listened. Then she noticed something in her scans. The genetic sequences, the dormant DNA. It was activating, not in just a few humans. In all of them. Every human on Earth, even the ones who were dead. Commander, she said to Hyun-woo over the communication channel, something is happening. The trigger. It is activating. Hyun-woo was watching from his own ship far from the battle. He had refused to join Woo Jin's attack. Can you stop it? No, Nari whispered. It has already begun. The death toll has reached the threshold. There is no stopping it now. On Earth, Colonel Subin felt it first. She was in a shelter deep underground when it happened. A strange feeling. Like waking from a dream. Like remembering something she had always known but forgotten. Her mind expanded. Suddenly, she could see things she should not see. The bunker around her. The soil and rock above. The surface. The burning cities. The alien ships, she could see inside the ships. See the aliens. Understand their technology. Know their weaknesses. It was not knowledge she learned. It was knowledge she simply had. As if it had always been there. Around the world, other survivors felt the same thing. Dr. Taeho in his collapsed observatory. Major Bo Young in her damaged fighter. Millions of humans in shelters and ruins. They all began to change. Their bodies stopped hurting. Wounds began to heal. Not slowly, instantly. Bones that were broken became whole. Burns faded. Even those who had died began to stir. Their bodies pulled back together. Consciousness returned. Admiral Wu Jin noticed it when his targeting systems began to fail. Not all at once. Slowly. Weapons that had worked perfectly suddenly missed their targets. Sensors showed false readings. Communications became static. What is happening? he demanded. His officers had no answers. The technology was failing. But not from damage, not from interference. It simply stopped working, as if the universe itself had decided that Valkyrie weapons no longer made sense. Then Wu Jin saw them. Humans. Rising from the ruins of their cities. Walking through fire. Flying without ships. They glowed with a soft light that hurt to look at. He ordered his ships to fire. The weapons activated. Energy beams lanced toward Earth, and then they simply stopped, frozen midair. The energy dissipated into nothing. Major Bo Young floated in space without a suit. She knew she should be dead. But she was not. She was alive. More than alive. She could feel the void around her. Feel the radiation. Feel the fabric of space itself. And none of it could hurt her. She looked at the alien ships and understood them completely. Their engines. Their weapons. Their shields. She saw how they worked and why they worked and how fragile they really were. She did not attack them. She did not need to. She simply existed, and in existing, she made their technology impossible. Around Earth, 50,000 Valkyrie warships went dark. Not destroyed, just stopped. Their engines failed. Life support shut down. Communication systems died. The most advanced fleet in the galaxy became nothing more than metal coffins floating in space. Admiral Wu Jin tried to restart his systems. Tried to call for help. Tried to do anything. But nothing worked. He looked out the window and saw humans floating in space, looking at him. Not with anger, just with pity. And for the first time in 500 years, Admiral Wu Jin felt fear.